So when it comes to Islam versus the Nation of Islam versus, I don't really want to say versus, but I guess in comparison to the Moorish Science Temple, is this more of trying to get us to understand our nationality, understand where we come from, as opposed to just a religion? Is that what this is, I guess?
Okay, let me give you Noble Ali.
Okay.
All right? This is an article entitled Moorish Leaders' Historical Message to America, right? And let me see if I have a date for you for that. Yes, October 26, 1928, right? Prophet instructions, he says. All right, let me take it from the top. In connection with the aims, objects, rules, and regulations of the Moorish Science Temple of America, I deem it proper to submit to you a brief statement of our organization, covering its inception, rise, and progress, and of the Mohammedan religion, which I hope will be satisfactory to you and be the means of causing you at all times to adhere to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice in your relations with mankind in general. I further most anxiously hope this brief statement will help you to more clearly see the duty and wisdom of at all times upholding those fundamental principles which are desired for our civilization, of our posterity, such as obedience to law, respect and loyalty to government, tolerance, and unity. We organized as a Moorish Temple of Science in the year 1925, and were legally incorporated as a civic organization under the laws of the state of Illinois, November 29, 1926. The name Moorish Temple of Science changed to the Moorish Science Temple of America, May 1928, in accordance with the legal requirements of the Secretary of State of Illinois. The object of our organization is to help in the great program of uplifting fallen humanity and teach those things necessary to make our members better citizens. A national organization with a Rotarian complexion as it relates to branch temples became obvious with the increasing numbers of inquiries from men and women in different sections of the country concerning the purpose of the organization. There are branch temples in 15 different states at this time, that's 1928. Since the work of the Moorish Science Temple of America was largely religious, the organization has been legally changed to a religious corporation, and an affidavit to this effect has been properly filed in the Cook County Recorder's Office in Illinois. It didn't say that the purpose or the mission of our organization is solely religious. It said largely religious, which means there's other functions of it as well. Okay? It said inspired by, and here's why the religious side, right? Inspired by the lofty teachings of the Quran, we have it as the revealed word of God Allah. We shall foster the principles of its teachings among our members. This is our religious privilege as American citizens under the laws of one of the greatest documents of all time, the American Constitution. So now he's invoking the law to demonstrate this particular privilege. Okay? It says the Mohammedan religion is the least appreciated and probably the most misunderstood of the world's great religions. This is especially true in our Western world. Try to understand what Mohammedanism stands for and some of the things it has contributed to the world. And it goes into the history of it. I'm not going to burden you with that. But I'll hit this part right here. It says, Mohammedanism makes no distinction between high and low, rich and poor. It is like the sky. It has room for all. It says the Quran should be of interest to all readers. It is the Bible of the Mohammedans ruling over the customs and actions over 200 millions of people. That's over 1 billion now globally. Right? It is a work of importance whether considered from a religious, philosophical, or literary viewpoint. Right? So even so whatever your approach is with the studying of the Quran, let's talk about the Quran of Mecca, right? Whatever your purpose is and your approach, you can get a philosophical draw from it. It's one of the greatest literary documents ever produced, along with the Mahabharata and the Upanishads from India as well, right? But there's different aspects you can get from the Quran of Mecca. It says in the promotion of plans for the betterment of mankind, there has ever been some kind of opposition. And strange as it may seem, such opposition has come from sources where there were no ideas or the lack of courage to force attention to ideas, whether in the church, state, or social community. That's that social duties again, right? Any attempt to do anything out of the usual way seldom fails to receive criticism. Not because the course cannot be pursued legally or that it is unreasonable, but because it has been considered in terms as new. Not that it's new, but it's considered as such, right? The Moorish Science Temple of America has received some opposition and criticism. In the main, the opposition has come from certain Christian ministers. They have expressed, and I like to say right there too, showed the class and dignity of the Prophet Noble Ali, that the people that were giving him static, he didn't drop their name. Right? He said certain Christian ministers and kept it pushing. Islam, because he probably had certain allies that were Christian ministers as well. Right? Moving forward, they have expressed themselves as being opposed to our propagation of the Mohammedan religion, possibly because the promotion of the Mohammedan faith among our people in the United States is considered by them in terms as something new. Whatever the reasons may be their oppositions, the legal right to oppose citizens, individuals, and organizations alike for their religious belief does not exist in the United States. So you see why he's using this cloak of religion, right? And it's an actual cloak. I'm not saying it's a tilted cloak of reputation, something that you take on and put off, right? But the point of he's getting us to move in a certain way, because prior to the founding of the Moorish Science Temple of America, it was unlawful for 5 or more Asiatics to gather without a Caucasian or European being present, right? So by him invoking the Constitution, now this is giving us a constitutional right to be able to gather and do work. Okay? It says, without religious freedom, no search for truth would be possible. Without religious freedom, no discovery of truth would be useful. Without religious freedom, religious progress would be checked, and we would no longer march forward towards the noble life which the future holds for the races of men. Without religious freedom, there would be no inspiration to lift our heads and gaze with fearlessness into the vast beyond, seeking a hope eternal. It is a sad weakness in us, after all, to oppose our fellow men for their religious beliefs. And if there are angels who record the sorrows of men as well as their sins, they certainly know how many indeed are the useless sorrows that spring forth from such opposition. Possibly, love and time will cancel our ancient hatreds in this regard and prove that in mankind, tolerance is better than unwarranted opposition. In connection with our religious aims and beliefs, we must promote economic security. The preaching of economic security among us is by no means as widespread and intensive as the circumstances demand. So now he's saying different area. Now he's in economics, right? But he's doing this under a religious cover, right? So now we're going to economics, right? It says, no one thing is more needed among us at this time than greater economic power, better positions for our men and women, more business employment for our boys and girls, and bigger incomes will follow our economic security. We shall be secure in nothing until we have economic power. A beggar people cannot develop the highest in them, nor can they attain to a genuine enjoyment of the spiritualities of life. Our men, women, and children should be taught to believe in the capacity of our group to succeed in business. Now he's going and giving the ethics of business of a Moorish American, right? In spite of the trials and failures of some of them. Trials and failures in business are by no means confined to any particular group of people. Some business ventures of all people fail. We have many men and women among our people who are qualified both by training and experience, who are shining lights in the business world of all the people. It is a sad weakness, that's the second time he mentioned that. It's a sad weakness in us as a people that we have withheld the very encouragement, support, and patronage. Those are 3 attributes that you have to have in business. Encouragement, support, and patronage. That would have made some of our worthy business ventures a grand success. And worst of all, have joined in the condemnations of them when they failed. Except in cases of actual dishonesty, discourtesy, lack of service, and actual unreliability. Now he's holding us to a standard. So we're gonna do business with each other, right? But it's gotta be on a standard. If it's not, I'm not bound to support you in your Negro ways. Islam? It says our business enterprises in every field of endeavor should have love of confidence, cooperation, and patronage whenever and wherever they can be given. Read carefully. People gloss over that. It says, read carefully the doctrines of the Moorish Science Temple of America. It contains our hopes, aims, rules, and articles of religion. Every member should have a copy. In conclusion, now this is condensing to your question. In conclusion, I urge you to remember there is work enough for all to do in helping to build a better world. The problems of life are largely social and economic. In a profound sense, they are moral and spiritual. So that's the reason why the religious side, right? Because our people are sick, right? So you're not going to build a nation off no sick people. It's not going to happen. You got to cure that first. So, incorporate it as a religious organization to heal the social ills, right? Once you got them at least on a level with their decent nature, now they're upright. You can get them to engage in the civic realms and the aspects of citizens taking their place in the affairs of men, right? It says, have lofty conceptions of your duties to your country and fellow men in general, and especially those with whom you deal, right? So that means don't think the worst of your brother or sister, think the very best, right? Until they show you the worst, and then offer them a chance for a speedy reparation. That's in the law, what we just read, right? It says, this includes such honesty and righteousness as will cause you to put yourself in the other fellow's place. Look for the best in others and give them the best that is in you. Have a deeper appreciation for womanhood. Volumes can be written on that one sentence. Brighten the hopes of our youth in order that their courage be increased to dare to do wondrous things. Adhere at all times to the principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. I am your affectionate leader. I shall continue to labor day and night, both in public and private, for your good, thereby contributing to the welfare of our country and its people as a whole. Noble Drew Ali, the Moorish God, October 26, 1928. Does that kind of answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. So, that's the reason. So, yes, when you started your question, you named a lot of Islamic groups, right? I don't know if they were they all Islamic?
Yes.
Okay. What happens is, there's a word in Arabic, right here in English. This is pronounced madhab, right? A madhab is a school of thought. Okay? This deals with custom. And the Prophet instructs us, it says, custom alters not the nature of truth. Right? So the fact that we have different interpretations, that's all that, right? Those different organizations on the religious side. The only reason they're different, organizations is because they have different interpretations of what the Quran says. Or different interpretations of how, or what, a particular custom should be. An example, you go to a Sunni mosque, right? Respect to the Sunnis. You might not hear much about the national or the civic side. You hear a lot of ritual, custom, right? You have a lot of, in certain ones, you have a lot of Arab influence customs. You see what I'm saying? That's not our particular way because we have our own nationality. So everything about, Moorish Americans and the Moorish Science Temple of America is filtered through a Moorish American lens. You see what I'm saying? So we see everything as through the lineage or the genealogy of the line, tracing ourselves back to Prophet Noble Drew Ali, who linked us back with our ancient fathers and mothers. You see what I'm saying? So we do everything, from a Moorish American sense. Okay. Ready? Yes. The Holy Quran and the Moorish Science Temple of America that we always read from. Okay. This is another article, real quick, a few paragraphs, that was put in the Moorish Guide. This is when 1927, when Prophet Noble Drew Ali was about to release the Quran. Right. This article is entitled "Masterpiece of Religious Literature: Secrets of Other Creeds Revealed." Right. The wording of this is very masterful. You got to know what you listen to. It says the Prophet Noble Drew Ali has spent many hours preparing the latest edition of the Quran, which will be a masterpiece of religious literature. To Americanize the Oriental, which means Eastern, right? To Americanize the Oriental ideal of Islam involves many changes that are more or less negative to the main purpose of the Islamic religion. Such changes are carefully considered with the idea to avoid changing the complexion of the original text. The philosophy of the ancient prophets is the main initiative in the compilation of the Quran. No thoughts of propaganda enter this work, as has been the case of many former religious works, such as the Bible and other books of creed. What does that mean? That means when you read the Bible is filtered through an Israelite lens. So basically that everything that's done in there generally is pro-Israelite. Okay? I give you two contrast points. One would be the Misha stele, or what they call the Moabite stone, right? Which was a stone found in the year 1868 in Jordan, right in the country Jordan. And when he dug it up, in the Moabite language, it breaks down the military exploits of one of our forefathers, King Mesha, M-E-S-H-A, right? And in there it mentions the Israelites, right? And it mentions the wars and everything, but it mentions it from a Moabite perspective, right? And it shows that, and with that specific series of wars, that the Moabites were on top, right? But generally, if you read the Bible, you'll see the Israelites on top, except for a certain points where, example, like King Eglon, who was one of Ruth's forefathers. King Eglon, under him, by the time King Eglon was, came to power, the Israelites had served under the Moabites for 18 years due to their disobedience. You see what I'm saying? But the point is that in the Bible and various different other, specific books, it's filtered through a particular cultural lens, thereby promoting their propaganda. So the Prophet was saying in his compiling of the Quran, he didn't say he wrote it or channeled it, he said he compiled it from different sources. In his process of doing it, he didn't want to enter into it propaganda that would alter the nature of the original text that he got the original sources that he got those texts from. Okay? He says, the sole purpose of the Prophet in giving such a message to the world is to save fallen humanity. When a compiler, refers to himself as such, when a compiler attempts to inject propaganda into a work of this kind, there arises a need to cover the true text in order to prevent a clash with the truth and ideas involved in such propaganda. Example, the first 7 chapters of the book of Genesis are, almost directly extracted from the 7 tablets of the Enuma Elish, which is a Babylonian text or Sumerian text. Enuma Elish, E-N-U-M-A, Elish, E-L-I-S-H. Again, E-N-U-M-A, Enuma Elish, E-L-I-S-H. Right? And also you could throw in there the Gilgamesh epics. And that's where you get your story of the flood of Noah, which is predated under the flood of instead of Noah it was Nefesh time. It's a long story. But point is these things were coming from older sources. But if you just read it through an Israelite lens, you may think that that's the origin of that text. Okay? It says formal works of this kind have either hindered or helped the nations proportionally to the adherence to the truth as to the original purpose of keeping the ignorant in such a state. It is hard to resist the temptation to use this medium for gain. Hence, many of the former treaties on works of this kind have been means to use religious influence for gain. Hence, the Bible being the most widely printed book on earth. Okay? The many secrets known to the prophet that could be used for the salvation of the nation were either left out or colored to an extent that their meaning was made void. Such is not the case with this edition of the Quran. Okay? It says, all secrets of the ages known to man are put into this work. The secrets known only to the Magi are here revealed. The reading of the stars, the interpretation of marriage relations, the understanding of the lifespan, and other such as has been kept from the Occidental, which means the Western world, are in this book boldly brought out. The Quran, Americanized as it will be, can be bought in a few weeks. Islam, all right? And it was first given, and this was from Prophet Noble Raleigh, Savior of Humanity, by our brother Azim Hopkins Bey. I believe it's Amazon. Brother Raphael, Amazon? Yes, Amazon.com. And Islam's Temple 11, Grand Sheik Azim Hopkins Bey, our brother, right? So, there you have, the religious side, and then you have the Moorish approach towards Islam, which we refer to as Islamism. Okay? Islamism is not unique to us. If you go to Egypt and research a man named Said Cook or Hassan al-Banna, which I have to straighten that out because I don't want anybody to run away with this, right? They were some of the founders of what is known as, I'll just put it in English, the Muslim Brotherhood, which is a group in Egypt called Ikhwani Muslimun in Arabic. All right? They refer to what they teach as Islamism. Okay? And just like we demonstrate, we say that Islamism is a social, political, and religious approach towards religion. Okay? So, but we have a Moorish American perspective. We don't use theirs. Theirs is filtered through a Egyptian form of nationalism. Arab Egyptian, if I can say. You understand? So that's, the Ikhwani Muslim, that's what that's from. So Islamism is pretty much a universal term. The Prophet brought it to us, okay? Because other groups use their religious science to engage in politics, economics, and so on. Okay? Does that answer your question, my sister?
Yes.
Sure?
I'm positive.
You have